Have you ever heard the phrases, money makes money, the rich get richer, or maybe it takes money to make money? In this video, I wanted to explain why phrases like this exist and how they hold some truth, and why the commonly held belief that once your investments reach £100,000, they really take off. I'll explain to you why I believe this to be true and how it relates to my own investments. I'll show you the years it took me to go from about £1,000 up to well over £300,000, and how long each £100,000 step took me and what I paid in each month. Stick around to the end and I'll share some tips that I used that may help you get there quicker. Welcome to Destination Wealth. Let's start with, why do your investments explode once you reach that £100,000 milestone? Well, there's kind of two important factors at play here, and neither of them are really related to the type of investments that you're in. The first of these being your scale of capital. So let's look at how investments of different scales of capital with the same 10% increase in return relate to each other. Suppose you invest £1,000, we'll keep this simple, round numbers, £1,000, and you receive a 10% annual return on that. After 1 year, your investment would be worth £1,100. Easy, right? So profit of £100, not particularly exciting. Now, if you invest £10,000 and you receive that same 10% annual return, your investment at the end of the year would be worth £11,000. You would have made £1,000. Now, skipping up to an investment of £100,000 with the same 10% annual investment returns, at the end of the year, you will have £110,000. Suddenly, you're now getting 10 grand a year profit. Now we're talking, aren't we? So let's take another skip up to a £250,000 portfolio. So we've got £250,000 invested on the 1st of January. By the end of the year, if you've received a 10% return on that, you will have an extra £25,000. Almost enough to live off without touching your principal investment. All these examples, the investment, the risk profile, the time scale, and the percentage returns are identical. The only difference is the capital amount invested, and the profits are significantly different. The scaling of capital allows for higher returns. As you increase the size of your investments, the absolute return also increases proportionately, which ultimately means your wealth and investments grow at a much faster rate. Now, the second really important factor in this explosion of wealth once you reach that £100,000 mark is all down to compound interest. Now, put simply, compound interest is the interest you earn on top of previous interest. Now, Charlie Munger famously emphasized the fact that the first £100,000 to accumulate is generally the hardest, but it's critical for building substantial amounts of wealth. It also represents a significant psychological and financial milestone. At £100,000, you're already 27% of the way there to £1 million due to the compounding effects that follow. Once you reach this sort of milestone, future financial growth requires a lot less effort, allowing for a slightly more relaxed approach. That first £100,000 of accumulation is generally the money that you're putting in from your salary. So as you can see, at that £100,000 mark, 10% annual return is giving you £10,000, a much more impactful amount than the £1,000 you've got on that 10 grand invested. This demonstrates the principle of money makes money does ring true, as the returns scale significantly the more money you have. Basically, your investments grow like a snowball rolling down a hill. The larger the initial sum, the larger and the faster the growth becomes over time. As returns are reinvested, they generate more returns, creating a powerful feedback loop. So if we look, for example, at the S&P 500, an index of the 500 leading companies in the United States, it's historically offered annual returns up of around 9.67%. And you can see from this chart the difference in returns if you reinvest those dividends, making that snowball bigger and bigger. So let's look at a real world example. We'll take my own investments and see how it really did explode once I reached that £100,000 milestone. Now we're looking at my investments only, not my net worth. Some people look at the net worth, but we're not including housing, cars, things like that. We're just looking at my monetary investments, which are generally across 3 or 4 accounts, like a SIP, an ISA, personal pensions, and some crypto. So starting in 2003, I only had £1,284 invested in a company pension. And you can see it actually took me 14 years to hit 108,000 in 2017. Wasn't paying him much per month in the early days, maybe about £50, £100 sometimes. Sometimes it was less, sometimes more, like £25 a month. But by 2017, I was able to get that up to about £1,000 a month, spread across various accounts, the ISA and the SIP, and my company pensions. So it wasn't one sudden step, but a gradual increase as my salary increased. 14 years on, from 1,000 to 108,000. So it took me 14 years to get from pretty much zero or £1,000 up to £108,000. 14 years. Let's see how long it took me to reach the next £1,000 milestone. 14 years on, it only took me 4 years to reach the next £100,000. And I actually hit 249, just shy of 250,000, £250,000 in just 4 years. Now at that point, I was paying in around £1,200 a month, again spread across those accounts, but it varied. £1,200 or £1,200 was the most I paid in. Some months it was less, some months I didn't pay any in. To recap, it took me 14 years to get from pretty much zero to £108,000, then only 4 years to go from 108 to 249,000, £250,000. So how long did it take me to reach the next £100,000? The next £100,000 took me 3 years, and by April 2024, all the totals of all my accounts sat at 305,000. So from 200,000 to 305,000, 3 years. Less than 3 years, really. So I currently expect to hit the next £100,000 and breach the £400,000 threshold in under 2 years from when I hit 300,000. As you can see from my example, those early years is your accumulation phase. Most of your increase investment growth is basically from the money that you're paying in, rather than the returns you're getting from capital appreciation or dividend. But over time, as those investments grow, the increases you do get from those capital gains and dividends start to surpass the money you're paying in each month or each year, shifting your portfolio's growth from savings to returns. And this is exactly what happened with my personal investments when I reached that £100,000 mark. Adding some truth to the commonly held understanding that your investments really do explode once you reach that £100,000 mark. This highlights the need for absolute patience, staying invested, and consistently investing. So a few little tips that I can give you, which I used when I was in that accumulation phase to get to that £100,000 mark in the first place. Focus on increasing your income through strategies like starting a side hustle, pursuing career advancements, maybe even finding better paid jobs, and really control your spending. Cut out unnecessary expenses, optimize your budgets, and make frugal choices. One of the most important things you can do is pay yourself first. Set up direct debit standing orders into your investment accounts, into your SIPs and your ISAs, And do that so it comes out the day after you're paid from your salary. Non-negotiable. Pay yourself first before you pay anything else. And then you won't even notice it. Before long, you won't notice it coming out. Now, when you do pay yourself, make sure you're setting up tax efficient accounts. So we're talking SIPs, self-invested personal pension plans, and stocks and shares ISAs. These sort of accounts can really help you grow your wealth quicker without losing gains to unnecessary taxes. Stocks and shares ISAs, for example, allow you to invest with all the gains from capital appreciation and dividends completely tax-free. SIPs, self-invested personal pension plans, also offer tax advantages, as the government will top up what you pay in depending on what your current income tax level is. Dividends are also paid tax-free, although you will pay tax when you come to withdraw that money as income when you retire. Also, pay into any company pensions that you have available. Generally, most companies will match what you pay in. Mine personally matches up to 5%, so I pay 5% via salary sacrifice when I'm paid, and the company matches that, and I leave it at that. Now, I personally focus my investment strategy on individual dividend-paying stocks, mainly UK-based, but some US-based. And if you'd like to see how I reached over £1,000 in 1 month in income from dividend stocks, then check out this video next.